You know, we all have that one friend, or maybe it's you, who treats their birthday like it's just another Tuesday. But is that because they're ungrateful, or is there something much, much deeper going on? Well, let's get into it.
It's a pretty common question, right? While a lot of us are busy planning parties or waiting for those birthday notifications to roll in, they just let the day go by. No big deal. So what's really happening there? What's the story?
And look, these are the typical labels that get thrown around. We might think they're being cold, or maybe even a little ungrateful. But honestly, those assumptions couldn't be more wrong.
See, the reality is, this isn't about a flaw in their personality. It's about psychology. There are some really fascinating, specific reasons why some people just prefer a quiet day, and it has absolutely nothing to do with them being broken or detached. So, let's break this down. We're going to dive into 6 key psychological reasons that I think will paint a completely different and much clearer picture of who these people really are.
All right, reason number 1, and it really starts with a pretty fundamental question. Where do you get your sense of self-worth from?
For a lot of us, getting all that attention on our birthday feels great, right? But some people just don't run on that kind of fuel. They don't need a special day or a phone buzzing with notifications to feel seen or valued because their sense of worth, well, it comes from the inside. The psychological term for this is low social dependency. It's a huge trait in emotionally independent people. And this is so important. It's not that they're rejecting other people's kindness. It's that they don't need that external thumbs up to feel whole.
Now, having that internal focus also totally changes how they manage their social battery, which brings us right to point number 2. Just think about it for a second. Birthdays, they kind of come with a script, don't they? There are all these unwritten rules for how you're supposed to act. And for some, having to perform that role is just exhausting. It's not fun. They'd much rather have a real, spontaneous chat than a forced celebration.
I mean, all this pressure, you have to be happy, you have to celebrate, you have to be social. It can feel like you're putting on a show. So for them, skipping the big party isn't about being antisocial. Not at all. It's about protecting their own energy and staying true to themselves.
And that desire to be authentic also has a huge impact on what's happening inside their own head, which leads us to our third reason. You see, for some people, a birthday isn't a cue for a party. It's a cue for deep thinking. That milestone, the passing of another year, it hits them on a deeper level. It makes them zoom out and reflect on the big stuff. There's actually a name for this process: self-evaluation. Their brain just gets busy asking questions like, okay, where am I now? What's changed in the last year? What hasn't? And to do that kind of deep internal work, a quiet day is way more valuable than a noisy party.
And you can imagine, right, when you're that deep in your own thoughts, being shoved into the spotlight can feel pretty jarring. And that's our 4th reason. Now, it is so crucial to understand this is not about being shy or having low self-esteem. They just aren't wired to crave those spotlight moments. In fact, being the center of attention can kick off something called mild social vigilance, which is basically a stressful state of being hyper-aware of what everyone thinks. So, staying out of the spotlight just feels way more comfortable.
This preference for what's real and authentic also spills over into their relationships, which brings us to point number 5.
For these folks, one single meaningful conversation on a random Wednesday means a million times more than 100 generic happy birthday posts on Facebook. They're all about the quality of the connection, not the ritual of it.
When you get right down to it, they'll choose a genuine, spontaneous moment over a calendar-based tradition any day of the week. It's just not about the event. For them, it's about the realness of the interaction.
And finally, our 6th reason. This one kind of ties it all together, because it shows how this is all really a strategy for maintaining their inner peace.
Okay, this is a really fascinating idea. Some people are just wired to avoid sharp emotional spikes, and that includes the super positive ones. It's like they instinctively know that a huge emotional high can lead to a pretty big crash later. So keeping the day simple and calm is actually a way to stay on an even keel.
This quote right here just hits the nail on the head. It reframes this whole thing perfectly. What looks like detachment from the outside is actually a very smart form of self-care. It's them consciously managing their own mental and emotional state.
So when you put all of these pieces of the puzzle together, a totally new picture starts to form. Choosing to have a quiet birthday isn't about a lack of joy or gratitude. It's actually a sign of something much more profound.
It's a sign of independence, of deep reflection, of emotional balance, and ultimately, of some serious self-awareness.
So if you're someone who treats your birthday like any other day, you're not strange. In fact, you might just have some of these really powerful psychological strengths.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought for all of us. Whether you throw a massive party or you spend the day reading a book, what does your own personal celebration style say about what you truly value? It's something to think about.